I just want the critiquer to lie to me and tell me I'm fabulous. Ah! Hi writers, I'm Autumn Board Joe, and today's quick tip is all about handling critiques. They are scary. They are probably one of the most scary things a new writer has to deal with. There's other scary things coming later, but by far, a critique, going to a critique club, group, or sending it out is extremely frightening, and it plays upon every part of you, your emotions, who you are, your skill level, and that's why it's scary. So I think there's a few different kinds of critiques, okay? First is the kind of critique you actually pay for. Some of those can be like quick critiques where you send in 5 pages before a writer's conference, and an agent or an editor of a publishing house will look at your 5 pages and offer some constructive criticism. Okay, you can have a longer critique that you actually pay for. That's the things I did with my first historical, is I sent it out to a New York Times notable who actually offered the service, and it was about $1,500, and that was like 5 years ago. And she basically read the whole thing, but critiqued the first 50 pages. And she gave me 10 pages single spaced of comments. And yes, it crushed my soul, but I moved on. And actually her suggestions helped me land not just one, but 2 agents. So that's the second kind of critique, okay, that either that you pay for or that you send away for. So the other kind of critiques are critique from your family or friends. And really, they're not critiques. Okay, your family loves you, I hope, and they're going to tell you how great you are. They don't want to crush your soul. Okay, they want to be nice and kind. And unless your family and friends are authors in their own right with a great knowledge base of the publishing industry and of the authorial techniques needed, then they're not going to offer you any valuable advice, but they'll be great cheerleaders. Okay, the next would be like a teacher. I have a lot of people say, my teacher friend looked at my manuscript, and I would say, as a teacher, no. For the most part, once again, unless that teacher friend is also an author in their own right, they're not going to really offer you the truly valuable experience that you need, because typos, that's minor and can be changed. There's a lot more other things that usually an author will tell you that needs to be changed with your manuscript. And then there's critique groups. They're on Facebook, they're in your local writing clubs, and there's good critique groups, and there are not so good critique groups. The good critique groups are those groups where if you're a new writer, that critique group actually is going to be a lot more beneficial if they're all way better than you. And they know their stuff. They've been published. They have knowledge base. They have experience. They know what they're talking about. They're going to give you real good advice. Okay, those are hard to find. Okay, the not so good critique groups are those critique groups where everybody's a newbie and nobody knows what they're doing, and so they're all just going to kind of throw things out and tell each other things that they think matter. And that's not really going to be super beneficial for you. They could be cheerleaders once again, but they're not going to give you the kind of information that you would need to take your writing up to the next level. There's also critique groups where everybody's the cheerleader. So, Susie Sunshine gushing all over your manuscript won't be helpful in the long run for you improving yourself. So if you can find a good critique group that is people who are better than you and knowledgeable than you, then that's really the critique group that you want to get into. So I'm going to give you 9 critique tips. So the first thing is that you need one. I mean, a critique is great, especially if you're a new writer, okay? Fresh eyes on your manuscripts is so important. Even big-time authors have their own special critique groups. And don't mind my dog, she just barks at everything, okay? So often we're not seeing plot holes. We think that something that we conveyed on the paper isn't what's actually conveyed. Tip number 2, get prepared to get beat up. You need a tough skin in this business. Rejection is the norm. Get used to it. Grow that thick skin. It's not fun. It gets easier. You just kind of have to shake it off, but be prepared to get beat up when you go into that critique group. If you know that you're going to get beat up, then usually it's all good. Okay. Number 3, don't bring a first draft. I'll tell you why. First drafts tend to be crap. And what happens is, so you bring this first draft to a critique group, and all they're finding is going to be things like grammar and punctuation and formatting. They're not going to really be able to see past that stuff to look at things like characterization, plot, conflict. I mean, those are the important things. And so that's why you want to really bring, for a new writer, you want to bring what you consider your best draft, so you can actually get some really good information. Okay. Number 4, take notes. When you have a critique, especially if it's like an online critique and people are just coming at you with stuff, or it's an in-person critique, we tend to, if we're overwhelmed, we just tend to miss a lot of stuff, right? What do they say about, you only hear half of what you, I don't know, you don't remember half of what you hear or something? Take notes. That way, and just tell people, oh, stop, and then you take the note on it, because that way when you go home and you have a quiet moment and you've had your cup of coffee or your vodka tonic, okay, you can go through them and kind of look at them one by one and see where you need to go. Okay, so do take notes, scribble stuff down, especially if it's like a group kind of a critique session. Okay. Tip number 5, and this is a big one, and I see this all the time. Okay, don't argue with a critiquer. Okay, don't argue. They read it. This is what they felt. This is what they saw. This is what they imagined. This was their impression. Okay. This is what they got out of it. You arguing with them only tells them, and basically the rest of the group, that you are unwilling to get better or to take advice. And I know some of us tend to be argumentative, but just like, zip it. Just zip it. And just like absorb it, okay? Also remember, people have lots of different opinions. You don't have to listen to everybody's opinion, but don't argue with it. If that's what they felt or that's what they got out of it, then that's valuable, because they're a reader. And it's really, ultimately, you're writing for the reader, okay? Number 6, honesty versus flattery. Some critiquers are forthright, and people will say they were brusque, they were rude, they just told me there was no characterization. Well, they're not holding any punches. Other people hide, and they don't want to, crush your soul or dash your dreams. So they're all about flattery, and they tend to be a little bit insincere. Some people are in the middle. So a lot of it's just, their personal style, how they will tell you something. Okay, learn from both. Okay, learn from both. The dream killers are great for strengthening your resolve to write better. They're just going to say, this was wrong, and this was wrong, and this is wrong, and you're just going to write it down, and then you've got real solid things about what to do. The cheerleaders are also great, okay, because they help motivate you and make you feel good about yourself. So it's kind of like, the seesaw. It's a balancing act. It's all good. But ultimately, when you go to a critique group, it's all about striving to become better, not be told how fabulous you are. Okay? If it's number 7, if it's a written critique, okay, let it stew, let it sink in, read it a few times, cry your little heart out, but don't go on social media and blast the person or blast whatever happened. It's not cool. It's just not cool, really. Okay, so if you paid for the critique, or you ask somebody to critique it, and then you're going to turn around and blast them, yeah, just not a good idea. I mean, exhale, inhale, cry, like I said, do whatever you need to do, but don't blast them on social media. Number 8 is don't sign up for a critique if you have no intention of improving. It's a waste of the time of the critiquer, and basically of their time and energy. Critiques take a long time. I don't really, once in a while I will critique up to 5 pages, and then a lot of times they just don't listen. And they get angry at me. So we learn while we revise, we learn while we write. There's everybody, famous authors get critiqued by other famous authors, and they say, what about this? And you need to do this, and you let that slip. Same thing for when you send your book to if you get an author and you get a deal and you get an editor, that editor will come in and they will have lots of things to say. You need to pull this out, or you need to pull this in, or is this what you meant? This metaphor sucks. Okay, so you need to look at those things with their fresh eyes and then adapt and revise. Okay, we learn a lot when a pro points out problems. Okay. And then number nine, fake it. Fake it. So even if you have to fake it, portray a positive attitude. I know sometimes it's hard. There's tears. I've seen people have tears streaming down their eyes. Learn to laugh at your mistake. It's writing. It can be revised. It can be fixed. You just be like, oh, I didn't think about that. Oh, newbie here. Okay, cry at home later. But a lot of times it's your attitude. Attitude drives everything. And attitude will make you a better writer. It will allow you to be more open about taking critiques. Critiques are scary. I totally get it. But you know what? You need them. You can handle them. You're only going to get better with them. Okay? So thank you, new writers. And if you like this, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hopefully I'll be posting another quick tip later this week. Bye-bye.